Hey guys, it's Dylan from Maximum Results Training, and today we're going to be recording and showing you, walking all you guys through our complete nutrition system. Alright, so we're going to get straight into it and get straight into the information. So, just a quick intro in what we're going to be going over today. So, first of all, we're going to be going into what is wrong with dieting and the term dieting, and we're going to be going into some different aspects and some different mindsets around, what you should be doing with your nutrition, what you shouldn't be doing, and a few other bits and pieces. So what is good nutrition? I mean, for a lot of people, they don't actually understand what good nutrition is. Um, you know, you can have terrible nutrition and terrible eating habits and still be losing weight, but is it going to be complementing the rest of your lifestyle? And we're going to be going into these sorts of factors and making sure that you get a good understanding of good nutrition. So macronutrients, and what are they and why do we track them? So tracking macros is super important for a number of reasons, and like I said, we're gonna go through, we're gonna get an understanding of what exactly they are, and also get an understanding of why they're important in terms of what we want to achieve and why we need to track them, basically. So carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So we're going to be going in depth into each of these. Believe it or not, these three things, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, are the three macronutrients. And we'll also be going into their individual effects on the body. Then we're going to be getting into some training stuff. So training for fat loss, training for weight loss, training for muscle gain, and strength gain. So at MRT, we have a wide variety of people with different goals, and these can all be achieved through doing the same type of training. And we're going to be sort of dispelling a few myths around training in this little topic, and we're also going to be relating it back to the nutrition stuff too. Alright, so first up, what is actually wrong with dieting? Here's a little statistic. I'm not sure if you've heard it before, but 95% of diets fail in the first 2 years. So what does this statistic actually mean? Well, firstly, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't diet or you shouldn't try and lose weight, because millions of people every year actually lose weight. That's not the problem. People don't fail in trying to lose weight. They fail in keeping it off. And there's a number of reasons why. It's because mainly everyone jumps on these common diets. So all these common diets, they're good to get yourself a result, but they're not something you can form into a lifestyle. Okay, so I mean, paleo diets, clean eating diet, like paleo is pretty much caveman, first of all. So you got to eat like a caveman because that's how we're meant to eat. And if you just eat paleo, then you'll lose body fat and get the body of your dreams. But in reality, no one can eat that way and sustain it for their lifestyle. I mean, it's obviously some people can, but for us normies, it's not a lifestyle that we can sort of take on for the rest of our life. Clean eating, it's sort of like, I see it as like a branch of paleo, but it's more of a misconception than a diet. And I think the misconception lies in that people think that if you eat healthy foods, you don't have to worry about anything else because you're eating healthy, so you're going to lose body fat, and you're going to be healthy, right? Because healthy people are lean. And it's not always the case. Like eating clean, eating healthy foods, whole foods is important. We're going to get into that later, but it's also vital to understand energy balance, macronutrient content for your goal and for your body. Okay. The thing with clean eating, probably the worst part of it, is that people will only eat super strict, and they'll think that they can't eat anything that's not anything that's processed, anything that's there's no balance that's allowed with clean eating. And what happens after a while is you start binge eating because you're deprived of foods that you want to eat and foods that you should be able to eat. So the zone diet, it's like just an even spread of macronutrients, but the point of it is to put you in a calorie deficit. Atkins, which is also like the no carb and the low carb diets as well. I mean, we're going to get into why you want to be eating carbs, but carbs have a terrible name for no reason at all. 5-2 diet, I really don't understand how this got popular. I think it was mainly through media, but it's terrible. Like, I speak to people on a 5-2 diet, and I tell them straight away, like, it's terrible. It's like, don't do that to your body. You don't need to eat 500 calories for 5 days and then 2,000 calories for the next. It's just stupid. 500, you can't I don't know how anyone has a job and keeps a job and actually does anything on 500 calories a day. It's a joke. Really, I mean, there's so much simpler ways to do things. Anyway, moving on, intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, experimented with it myself and some other clients as well. And again, it's just like another way to force yourself into an energy deficit. Do you need to do it? Probably not. There's other ways you can get around it. Low-fat diets, again, you're just avoiding fats. Fats are essential. We're going to get into that. Each macronutrient is essential for our body. So essentially lowering our fat intake is going to be lowering our calorie intake. Super low calories, sort of like, I remember watching a weight loss show, and Biggest Loser is a great example. Those guys rebound, definitely. Like, they eat 1,000 calories a day while they're on the show doing like 3-4 hours of exercise. As soon as you stop eating 1,000, you start eating more and you stop doing less exercise, you're going to put on weight because you're metabolically damaged, first of all, but your body gets used to a super low calorie diet. Our bodies actually need, for girls, you need about 1,200 calories just to sustain all of your survival systems. So eating like 1,900, 500 calories is not a good idea in terms of health. So detoxes and juice cleansers, they're overused, and you need to have the right metabolism to use them, because you can severely, deteriorate your metabolic set point. And we're going to be getting into this a bit as well. So these are all quick fixes, guys. And like I said before, the reason why diets fail is because diets don't work, lifestyle changes do. So we need to find something that fits into your lifestyle. Now, for me, I am a big foodie, and I like eating food. I like eating a wide variety of food, and that's that's what we want to enforce at Maximum Results Training, is to be able to force something into your lifestyle. Like, we don't want to get you in shape in the next 12 weeks or 4 weeks, 2 weeks, however long you spend with us, for it to all come undone afterwards. We want to instill like results for the rest of your life, and that's something we're passionate about. That's something we want to do. That's why we have made this complete nutrition system. So why do these diets fail? I sort of went into it before. It's lifestyle, but it's also metabolic damage. So altering your metabolic set point. So everyone has like a set point of where their metabolism is. There used to be like algorithms you could use that would tell you pretty much where everyone's metabolic set point would be. But because of all these quick fix diets here, these common diets, everyone's metabolic set point is altered because they've been crash dieting, and then crash dieting, then yo-yoing back up, crash dieting, yo-yoing back up. And after a while, your metabolic rate actually deteriorates to a point where, for instance, if I'm going to get into this in just a sec, but it's basically you altering your metabolic set point. Your body's used to eating and functioning off less food. Continual overshooting and crash dieting leads to increased fat gain. So when you lose body fat, your fat cells shrink, all right? And when you put on fat, they grow. Now, there's been studies done on this. The studies concluded that, or they showed that continual overshooting and continual dieting and yo-yoing actually didn't just cause your fat cells to shrink and grow like people do when they lose fat, gain weight, but also increase the amount of fat cells you had. So instead of you losing 2 kilos and putting that 2 kilos back on, you've actually increased the amount of fat cells. You might only put on a couple hundred more grams, but if you keep yo-yoing, every time you yo-yo back up, you're going to be regaining fat cells. So now you have the ability to put on more fat, all right? And that's not good. So what is good nutrition? So good nutrition allows you to form your nutritional habits into a lifestyle, okay? Like I sort of said, that's what we want to aim to do, guys. So it's honest. So we're not trying to lie to you. It's not lying to you. It's not giving you false hopes. It's aimed at achieving your outcome, aids in your health and your fitness goals while still leaving you with enough energy to do everyday activities. And it gives you enough balance to go out and have a social life. I think that's important. I mean, that's what life's all about. Life is there to be lived and not restricted. And it gets you results. Alright, so what are macros? So macronutrients, like I said, the name's given to, or the category given to carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So when we're talking about macronutrients, tracking your macros, we're talking about carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So each macro has its own unique role in the body, and each macronutrient has their own unique energy content. So 1 gram of carbohydrate equals 4 calories, 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories, the same. It's important to understand that yes, they are the same. So yes, one sec. So yeah, yes, carbohydrates and proteins have the same energy content, but they have completely different roles in the body. And we're going to get into this again. And fat's twice as dense, 9 calories per gram, a bit more than twice. So why do we track macros? So energy balance is the key to successful nutrition, no matter what your goal is. Total energy is calculated in calories. Okay, so essentially, we're not tracking calories, we're tracking macros, but our macros will add up to a certain amount of calories. We need a certain amount of each macronutrient for optimal health, metabolic function, recovery, and our energy levels. Alright? Think of it as tracking your finances. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. If you don't track your finances, you know, essentially going to go broke, and you're not going to have any money in the bank, and you know you can't really live like that. So think of it as tracking your finances the same as tracking your macros. If you don't track your finances, you go broke. If you don't track your macros, you don't get results. Simple. You don't get long-term results anyway. Without tracking macros, you're limiting your chance of success, and you're simply relying on guesswork, leaving it to chance. We don't actually know. Now, I, like everyone, have you know, obviously with just life gets busy. You know, for me personally, the last 6 weeks, or you know, from a few weeks ago, the last 6 weeks, my nutrition was terrible. Just eating when I could, you know, working long hours, not actually getting enough time to cook at night, and trying to track my macros was just all guesswork. So I actually had no idea what I was doing. Alright, I knew that, but sometimes you just that happens and you have to deal with it and know that you got to just do the best you can. Sometimes that happens, everyone gets busy, and even trainers go off the rails a little bit. Now for me, I've been back tracking my macros the last 2 weeks. Now the other day I got really busy and I didn't get enough time to track my macros in MyFitnessPal, and I was sitting there trying to think, you know, wonder what I can still fit in. You know, have I eaten enough? I think I've eaten enough. I better not eat anymore because don't want to go over my calories and or my macros. Anyway, I ended up sitting down, writing down everything, and I was way under. Like I thought I'd eaten to my limit, but I could still fit in like another couple 100 grams of carbohydrates. So that's shitloads of food, and you know, you should be eating that. Like there's no need to eat less because we'll be overshooting. It's not going to speed up your results. It's essentially going to deteriorate your chances of getting long-term results if you don't hit those macros. Alright, so don't guess. Alright, getting into carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are our muscles and brain's #1 energy source. I mean, they've got such a bad name. Like people tend to consume a diet that's way too high in carbohydrates, first of all. But they have such a bad name. I mean, most people you speak to, you know, especially like when I used to work in a commercial gym, I used to hear people, you know, eavesdrop on people's conversations. I want to lose some, when something like this, I want to lose some weight. One guy would say to another guy, and his friend would say, well, you know, just cut the carbs, do a bit of cardio, you'll be right. You know, that's the first thing everyone thinks, you know, if you want to lose weight, cut those carbs, like, and you know, you don't need to. If you're smart, if you're tracking things, you can actually eat a lot of carbs. You just have to be tracking them, and you can actually have eat good, nutritious, fun foods. Why do they have a bad name? They have a bad name because people tend to consume a diet way too high in carbohydrates. Now, I was talking to a girl on the weekend at a barbecue, and she was asking me for some nutritional advice, and you know, I was like, well, you know, I don't really like to talk about that stuff at barbecues anyway, but it happens, and she, you know, I basically said, what do you eat in a day? And you know, everything she ate 5 times a day. I'm like, that's great. What do you eat in those 5 meals? Everything she ate was just carbohydrate after carbohydrate after carbohydrate. Like, for someone like that, they cut carbs. Of course you're going to fucking lose weight. You're not eating anything anymore, you know? So that's why people eat way too high a percentage in carbohydrates. That's why they have a bad name. But what actually happens when we don't eat carbohydrates? Well, like I said, if we refer back to that starting point, they are muscles and brain's #1 energy source. So our performance in life, work, and exercise all drops off. Our bodies slowly lose the ability to break down carbs, which is another form of metabolic damage. So just eat them, fit them in. Anything is bad in the wrong dose. I mean, if you drink too much water, you can drown in it. But at the same time, you can't not drink any water. You know, you need water to live. Too much, like too pure concentration of oxygen is poisonous to the body as well, but we need it to live. Eating too many carbohydrates gonna make you fat. Like, it's pretty simple, guys. Eat your daily carb allowance. Use the macro calculator on the member site to calculate your carbohydrate intake for your goal, so that it will be directly above this video. Getting to the next macronutrient. So protein, the building blocks of muscles, vital for our immune system, and full of essential amino acids. Alright? For optimal results, we want to eat a good quality protein source every 3 to 4 hours. We want to be constantly pulsing in protein. Now, even if let me first, before I get into the next point, say that there's been heaps of research, okay, shitloads of research, and into the how many meals should I eat a day subject. And truth be told, you can eat 1 meal a day if it fits your calorie content that you should be eating and still lose weight. But they're missing out on the point that you need to actually have constant pulses of protein to maintain muscle mass. Even if you're trying to lose weight, you want to be maintaining muscle mass. All right. So you want to be eating protein every 3 to 4 hours because you want to be constantly stimulating muscle protein synthesis to maintain muscle mass. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. Even when losing weight, as I just said, you want to maintain as much muscle as possible. The more muscle you have, the more energy you burn at rest. The more muscle you have, essentially the more carbohydrates you can utilize through training. Okay, the more muscle you have, people talk about like being insulin sensitive. Muscle is absorbing of glucose and insulin. Glucose, carbohydrates fuel our muscles. So we want to have more muscle. The more muscle we have, the more carbs we can eat. Again, use the macro calculator above, and that'll calculate your daily protein intake. Remember, the key takeaway from here is every 3 to 4 hours. So you want to be eating like at least 4 meals a day, or 3. You could have 3 meals in a protein shake. All right, guys, fats don't make you fat. That's pretty cliche, but it's true. Vital for hormonal production and transportation of vitamins and nutrients around the bodies, especially vitamins A, D, E, and K. So it's like your hair, your skin, your nails, and so on and so forth. I can actually feel when I'm eating a low-fat diet or under my energy intake, my nails go quite flimsy. But that's just like a something I've noticed in myself. Whether it's actually affected by fat intake, it's is a whole nother story, but that's just something I've noticed with myself. So not all fats are equal. We want to aim for natural saturated, that's right, natural saturated fats. So these are like fats from animal sources, from eggs. This is like the stuff that everyone thinks is bad. You know, that cholesterol is terrible for you. With a majority of fats coming from poly or mono unsaturated fat source as well. So this is stuff in like seeds and nuts and fish and all that other good stuff. So just taking a step back, yeah, I was just talking about natural saturated fats and high in cholesterol. So cholesterol is not actually bad for you. There's two types of cholesterol: good types and bad types. And essentially, eating like cholesterol. First of all, cholesterol is essential. Going back to this point, hormonal production. Cholesterol is essential for hormonal production. All right, it's not bad for you unless you have. There's other stuff in blood that they should be looking for now anyway, which are better indicators of heart risk and stroke and so on and so forth. But cholesterol is actually essential for the body. It's essentially the reason why cholesterol had a bad name. I won't go on too long with this. Is think of like inflammation in the body as a fire in the bush. Okay. Now, when there's high amounts of inflammation in the body, which is like bad stuff going on in the body, there's going to be a high amount of cholesterol hanging around the inflamed areas. So essentially, now going back to the bushfire, think of a bushfire. Think about what's at a bushfire: a shitload of firefighters trying to put that fire out. Cholesterol in the body is those firefighters. Okay, it's anti-inflammatory. It's trying to put the fire out. It's trying to actually heal you. That's why it's actually, they did all these studies and autopsies on people that had died from stroke, heart attack, and so on and so forth. And what they had found is that in every single one of them, there was cholesterol was there, And so they correlated this. This was correlated to meaning that, okay, cholesterol's bad. Let's now make these cholesterol-lowering drugs, statins. And now statins are a fucking billion-dollar industry, so they're not going to say, well, cholesterol is actually not bad for you now because there's too much money in it. All right, that's basically the story of cholesterol. So use the macro calculator above to calculate your daily fat intake for your goal. All right, 80% whole foods. This is what we want to be eating. So going back to like what I was saying before about clean eating, it's like 100% or nothing. We want to aim for about 80% whole foods. Why? Balance, first of all, because eating 100% unprocessed whole foods is just going to do your head in. It's not going to give you any flexibility. It's not going to give you any opportunities to go out and eat foods that you enjoy and still get results you want. Remember, lifestyle is what we're after. It's basically what I just said. 80% whole foods will allow you then eat foods that aren't necessarily seen as healthy, and you have the option to fit in foods into your lifestyle. The other reason why you want to eat 80% whole foods is because you can't eat just shit food when it comes to eating healthy or hitting your macros. Because if you eat first of all, you eat a lot of protein to get your protein intake up, and you eat some fats to get your fat intake. You can't then get all your carbs from sugar because you're missing out on something called fiber, which is essential to breaking everything down and essential for good bodily function. So whole foods actually have a higher thermogenesis effect, so it means they actually burn a little bit more energy to break down than processed foods. So another rule we like to stick to, so that's the 80% whole food rule. Another rule is that 90% of your meals are hitting your macros. All right? It's impossible to track meals when you're out, and it's also unnecessary. You don't want to be that person that's pulling scales out at the weighing bits of meat at like the Thai shop. That's crazy. So this is essentially 90% of your meals hitting your macros. As long as the other 10% aren't like binge eating meals, gives you a bit of flexibility so that you can then go and, like I said, eat meals that you want and have some flexibility in there. Just remember, lifestyle, not diet, is what we're after. Here's a list of whole foods. It's directly above this video as well, actually. So we're just going to go into a bit of a close. So nutritional key points. Hit your macros every day within about 5 to 10 grams of everything. Trust in the process, guys. I know it's hard, especially for the girls, when I'll be telling you, like for instance, some of you might have a carbohydrate target of 150. You'll be like, fuck, 150 grams of carbs. What the? I can't eat that many carbs. Well, you can. Okay, trust us. Especially if you're not used to eating that amount, you might have a slight rebound effect at first, but in the long term, you're going to be a lot better off. So we're going to start doing this. If you don't already have your body fat, this is super important because we're going to be doing this for everyone. We're changing the tool we use to do body fat is going to be a body fat scanner as of next week. And every 2 to 3 weeks, book in with a trainer outside of your session times to do your body fat. We will then have a new booking system out at reception where you book in a 10-minute phone call where we talk to you about your nutrition and make sure everything's on track. So some expected results. So if you're hitting your macros every day in a deficit, you can expect to lose half a kilo to 0.75 kilos per week. Obviously, the bigger your goal is, if your goal is to lose 20 kilos and you're a bit bigger, then that might even increase a little bit. But if you're a lot smaller and you only want to lose like 3 kilos, it might be a lot less. So in terms of fat loss, if guys and girls just want to lose a bit of body fat to stay the same weight, you can expect about 0.5% body fat loss per week. And muscle gain is about the same in kilos, 0.5 kilos per week. But remember, with muscle gain, you've got to put on a little bit of body fat as well. Training for your goals. So we're just going to get into this training stuff and then we're pretty much finished. So fat loss, weight loss, muscle gain, and strength gain, these can all be achieved easily through our small group training sessions at Maximum Results Training. So the goal of our training, no matter what our goal is with our body, is always to get you strong and build lean muscle. All right? The goal in nutrition will determine if you lose weight, lose fat, or put on more muscle, or stay the same. Okay? It's simple as that. That's why, our training changes from phase to phase. We might even have a strength phase, a fat loss phase, a strength and muscle gain phase. It's all the same because it doesn't matter because your nutrition's on track to get you where you need to be. So as we don't really do a lot of slow cardio or tell you to go for a run or a walk. Not saying that you can't, but it shouldn't be like the big thing in your training plan. Why? Metabolic adaptation. So our bodies adapt to any stimulus that we put in front of it. So if you constantly, here we go. If you do a 60-minute run 3 times a week, so that first week you might burn 500 calories in each of those 60-minute runs. That's pretty good, right? That's a fair amount of energy burnt in the 3 hours in that week. Okay. Now, going back a point to metabolic adaptation, if you do this run every week for the next 6 weeks, your body's going to adapt to it. And what happens when we adapt to something, we get fitter. Okay, getting fit's good, right? But believe it or not, when we're trying to alter our body fat, we want to be as unadapted as possible to these sorts of things. We want to be as responsive as possible. So you might get a good response at first, but as you get fitter, you're burning less energy. So in 6 weeks' time, that 60-minute run might only burn 250 calories in each run. So what used to burn 500 calories is now halved. So you now have to run for 2 hours to burn the same amount of energy. And this is good if you want to run a lot. This is bad if you're just trying to lose body fat because your metabolism is actually adapted to this, and there's not much you can do but keep running and keep running and keep running. So strength, the type of training we do, strength training with a mix of high-intensity interval training, high-intensity resistance training. It's constant adaptation. It's easy, easy to put in variation, which forces the body to always be progressing and never completely adapts. So this will make us feel great and look great. So in terms of easy to put in variation, the body is so easy to get out of a rut. We can literally change the grip on an exercise and it can be a completely new stimulus on the body. Now you'll probably feel this like after a 3-week training block, you might, that first week you might be sore as hell. By the 3rd week, you feel pretty good, like your energy levels are high, you're not actually getting that fatigue, you're not getting that sore. But then if we simply change the training around, you might start getting sore again. And it's not that you're fit, it's not that you're unfit, it's just your body has to readapt, and that's a good thing. Alright guys, have a walk through the membership site. It's all up there. If you have any questions, get in contact with us, get in contact with your trainer, get stuck into the Facebook group, upload questions in there. Alright, Hope you got something out of this. Remember, lifestyle is what we're after, not diet. Let's make this a lifestyle change.